Then there's only two kingdoms left. In the two kingdoms, we have the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Benjamin, Benjamin the smallest. The word Jew becomes from the word Judah, right? And that's where Jerusalem is. It's in the kingdom of Judah. And in 597, between that time and 587, 586, the ruling power of the time is no longer Assyria, it's the Babylonians. And the Babylonians, boom, they crushed Jerusalem in 596. And they crush it. Jerusalem is a city that has been crushed, rebuilt, crushed, rebuilt, crushed, rebuilt, crushed, rebuilt. And they crush it. They break down the walls. They take all the gold out of the temple. They burn what can be burned. They then take the king, King Zedekiah. They kill his two sons in front of him, then take hot pokers and poke his eyes out. Then they shackle him, and they take all the intelligentsia, all the leaders, and they walk them to Babylonia. They go around the Fertile Crescent and land in Babylonia. Babylonia today is in Iraq, and it's 50 miles south of Baghdad. They lived for 70 years by the waters of Babylon. I mean, everybody was my age, Bob Marley, right? Didn't quite sound like Bob Marley. That's actually Psalm 37, verse 1. By the waters of Babylon, they lived for 70 years. And then comes the call that they're going home. They're going to go home. 70 years later, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, Isaiah, second Isaiah as we know him, comes and says, we're going home. We're going back to Jerusalem. We're going back to the temple. And it's actually complicated. They want to go home. They've been living there 70 years. None of those people actually lived in the temple, and it's a really, really long walk. But that's not what the route they're told to go. They're saying you're going to cut in a straight line. Instead of going around the Fertile Crescent, you're going to cut right through the desert. And what we get here, essentially, is the first interstate highway like President Eisenhower put in, right? Every valley was raised up with a bridge, and every mountain we made a tunnel through it, right? Take a look at our interstates. This was before interstates existed. And we're talking about going across the Arabian Desert. The Arabian Desert is the fourth largest desert in the world. In the south, down in the Persian Gulf side, it is crazy. It's mountains of sand. I mean, it's the most fun thing to ride on a four-wheeler you can imagine. In the northern part, it's a shaly, hard rock desert with wadis. Wadis are those cuts in the ground that come from water that runs through them. This is a big deal when I lived in Arizona, not to hike in the spring, because you could be hiking in a wadi, and then it would be raining in another place, and the rain would come through and kill you. Just the gush would kill you. It happened all the time. It happened once a year, at least. It also has these terrible, terrible drop-offs. This is part of the land of Lawrence of Arabia. And it says you're going to come right across this. You're going to go in a straight line, and you're going home. That prophecy for the return becomes the prophecy for the Messiah. And so we are left with this idea that John the Baptist's job is to create a straight way, to prepare the way. But if you think about it, the highway, it's ambiguous. Who's preparing the highway? And are we going on the highway, or is the Lord traveling on the highway? And the answer is yes, right? It's God's work, but it's our work to prepare this highway, to prepare for the coming. In our salvation history story, it results, and it says, and you shall see, all flesh shall see the salvation of God. For the people of Israel, this was to see Jerusalem. For us, it is to see Jesus. And that is what's behind me. So in the rear of us is a depiction of our salvation history. And Grant Morrill, who is the brilliant man who conceived of such a thing, had it that it is in Jesus that we as the Gentiles enter into the story of salvation history. The story of salvation history begins with the people of Israel. It does not begin with John the Baptist. John the Baptist is tied into the people of Israel and then brings it to Jesus. That's what's happening in this story. And so the enigmatic Jesus from the cross reaching down to all human beings, that's us. And it is through him that we are entering into the story. And that is what we are to do during Advent, which is enter into the story. Because if we know the story at the birth of Jesus, well, then the angels can sing. But the angels, because Jesus doesn't pop out of nowhere. He pops out of the story of our salvation history.